Hey everybody, welcome back to Mighty Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and this is Taking Turns. And I do mean welcome back, at least for me. For all of you, there was nothing you missed. It was normal Mighty Modern over the past few weeks, but I actually recorded a little bit in advance. I was on vacation out of the country, enjoyed some Italy with my wife. It was a lot of fun. But I am back, and I'm excited to be back, ready to do some magic. I'm somewhere between hyped and pumped, and you really don't want to confuse those two words when you're talking on YouTube, but I am excited for Ixalan. The pre-release, fun, good time. Looking forward to the set. It's got merfolk in it. That's the best. Anyway, so one of the things that happens with Ixalan coming out is we get Opt in Modern. And this week I want to play one of the decks that I think is going to benefit the most from Opt being in the format. So it's a really cool card. I'm honestly surprised it got reprinted because it puts another 1-mana cantrip into Modern, and a very good one at that. And that's just crazy. And it makes decks like this much better. So Opt is going to be one of the most hyped cards out of Ixalan. Scry 1, then draw a card at instant speed. So very good. So this deck wants to take some turns. That's what it does, and it does it very well. So the idea is essentially that we get either Dictated Krufix into play or a Howling Mine. So we have 5 of this effect where you're drawing 2 cards a turn. Then you just start taking turns. Time Warp takes a turn. Part the Water Veil takes a turn. Walk the Eons takes a turn. Sometimes takes more than 1 turn. Temporal Mastery takes a turn. Sometimes takes a turn for 2 mana. And Temporal Trespass sometimes takes a turn for 3 mana. And then after that, you have some what I would call virtual Time Walk effects, where Exhaustion. Creatures and lands target opponent controls don't untap during their next turn. You play this on turn 3, you essentially deny them a turn. They can make their land drop, but they don't do anything with that 1 mana. It's pretty great. Cryptic Command. Tap down their team, counter their spell for the turn. That does a pretty good job of time walking somebody. That's the deck. And now we get to set up the beginning. You can also Giga Drowse away someone's entire turn, all their lands in their upkeep. Also, we have all these cantrips now. We have 9. The deck used to run 7, and I've actually played this deck quite a bit, both in paper and online. I think one of the videos I did early on when I started mining Modern more than a year ago was this, but it's much better now, I think, with Opt. So, and the list has changed a little bit. So 4 Opt, 4 Serum Vision. Serum Vision's actually very good in this deck still. Even if some people think Opt is better than it in the abstract, just scrying 2 in this deck is so much more powerful when you have Temporal Mastery and you can set up future Miracle turns and plan around that. That's very powerful. And then we're going to play Sleight of Hand, which you used to play more of, but now we have Opt, so you don't need to. But still, you can play it for a 9th effect here. So you have 9 1-mana cantrips. That's just great. 3 Spreading Seas in the main deck. I couldn't find room for the 4th one with how the deck's constructed right now, so it's in the sideboard. But this isn't a Time Walk, but it does churn through your deck. It does mess up all the Tron players going around right now, etc. It's a Valakut if that matters. Doesn't matter that much usually, but you know, whatever. Lots of good stuff working with that card. Then Elixir of Immortality, shuffle all the Time Walks back into our deck. Keep yourself from decking, which can be relevant. Then of course the Howling Mine as we mentioned. So the mana base, kind of as you would expect, all the islands, the Manamo and the Obero to play around. Choke, which it's just kind of a free roll to play these. It doesn't really matter anymore. Choke's not really played, but you never know. Plus, basically, you can't beat a Choke anyways if you have them, but it is possible you can Cryptic Command bounce it. So whatever, they're there. Then this deck sometimes plays something like Miko Koro that draws both players' cards, but it costs so much mana and it's very rarely activated. I'm not a fan of it. What I like more is playing Radiant Fountain. The deck has also at times played Inkmoth Nexus, which when the Devoted Druid combo was going around making infinite life with Kitchen Finks, it was important, but it's less so now. That deck's kind of fallen off. But Radiant Fountain actually is great because you can only play so many colorless lands because you're playing Cryptic Command and all these double blue, even triple blue spells, etc. And you want to cast a bunch of these in a turn, so on. But you have a few to play with, and I choose Radiant Fountain because it gains life, and that's really important. It seems like not a big deal, and you know, maybe most of the time it's not. But 2 life comes in very handy against the aggressive decks against which our deck can struggle. So it's very important to have Radiant Fountain here. So that's the deck. I love this deck. This deck is so much fun. It's great. I actually think it's a very competitive deck in the meta right now. Dodge Affinity, you're good to go. But even then, you can still beat Affinity. Not easy, but sometimes you can. All right, so moving on to the sideboard. we have basically our anti-burn package with the Dragon's Claws Sundrop, which is your anti-aggro package, because those burn especially is a very tough matchup. Moving on from that, though, Dispel hits through the breach. A lot of the combo-y things going around, etc. Just, good one. Remand. Now, this I'm trying out. Some people play Remand in the main deck, and I personally don't like it. I prefer Spreading Seas. One, because there's a lot of Tron decks going around, but two, because Spreading Seas, when you're going off, say you have 7 mana and you just really need to find that Time Warp or whatever to get you there, Spreading Seas will at least cycle while providing some value on the second turn of the game. While Remand is, great on turn 3 or something where you get them, but really bad when you're trying to go off and you just, need to not die to your opponent's creatures. So I have them in the sideboard because it is very good against something like Scapeshift, where just buying a turn by remanding their Scapeshift or Primeval Titan is just very powerful. So I do like it over here in the sideboard. Now, of course, your Counterspell suite, I've chosen to go with Remands and Dispels, but it could be Negates, it could be Swan Songs. There's a lot of different options, but this is what I'm rolling with here. The 4 Spreading Seas for the Tron matchup, sure. The 3rd Giga Draws, because this is great, coincidentally, also against Tron, but against especially control decks, and it's just huge against control decks. And it's with the white-blue deck that won in Open last weekend, and the Grixis Death Shadow decks, even anything that's going to have Counterspell mana open, Giga Drowsing somebody and hitting all of their lands at the end of their turn is just so huge, and it can't be stopped because the way Replicate works, it actually creates a bunch of copies of the spell, so one counterspell won't stop it. So playing against control feels like a buy. They can have all the counterspells in the world, but you just Giga Drowse at the end of their turn and then you go off. So I like having access to the 3rd one. Now, what we didn't touch on is there's no Thassa in the main deck or Jace Balerion, which is sometimes a win condition for these decks. I choose to simply run Part the Water Veil as my win condition in the main deck. And yes, that means the plan is to get to 9 mana and awaken it and kill him with a creature, but it's just surprisingly easy, because once you start going off, the deck rarely ever fizzles, especially in the way I've constructed it. And by the time you're ready to make a 9/9, you're going to have your Cryptic Command up. They're going to be tapped down to Giga Drowse. You just kind of don't have to worry about it. Your 6/6 will just always get there, barring infinite life shenanigans or whatever. But after sideboard, of course, you do need something else, and I've chosen to use Laboratory Maniac because once it gets going, you can just draw your entire deck out, and it's a win condition that doesn't worry about anything weird. If they gain infinite life, if they have something that prevents you from attacking them, right? If they have an Ensnaring Bridge out or something, so on and so forth. Laboratory Maniac is just an alternate win condition that works very well. Now, I am a little concerned because I did cut down to just 1 Howling Mine where I used to run 2, and I haven't given it a lot of testing with that, but other versions of the deck have done well with just this setup of the 5 Howling Mine effects. So I'm excited, though. I'm excited to be back for Magic. I'm excited for Ixalan, and I'm excited to show you this deck. So this is Mighty Modern. Glad to be back. Let's do it.